It seems like it's been 40 weeks since you got 40 winks. Your back pain? Unbearable. Tossing, turning, trying to find that pain-free position. And that's the moment you realize you can't spend another waking moment putting off treatment.
The Joint and Spine Center is Cincinnati's leading destination for spine care, with a ton of surgical and non-surgical treatments for back pain. So when a moment has the power to change the rest of your life, go to the one place with the power to change it for the better, the Christ Hospital Health Network. This changes everything.
The Pound This Podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This Podcast, episode 607, The Key to Weight Loss Success.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This Podcast with Amanda Valentine.
Yo, what's up? Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This Podcast. I am Amanda Valentine, and let's get right into this topic, shall we? About what is the key to weight loss success. Now, I think this applies to many things, not just weight loss, but even just, healthy lifestyle, wellness, etc. It's just easy to put weight loss into the title. But I think that it all really comes down to one key, and I think that's consistency, which I'm sure you've heard before. I am not giving you any groundbreaking information here, but it really, really is. And I wanted to cover this topic today just because I feel like that's kind of what skidded me a little off track this year. And I've had a hard time with multiple things. 2020 has been a beast for a lot of people in a lot of ways, and it's affected us all differently. But I feel like I've got a lot of my own stuff going on this year, which you may have heard in previous podcasts, and which I will continue to talk about, just not in this particular episode. But I feel like I had a really great hold on consistency for a long time. And I feel like this year I became less consistent. And I think that's because 2020 it just jumbled up everybody's consistency, right? Like just everyone's schedule in life for the most part changed, even if you're an essential worker and you never got, furloughed or laid off, et cetera, work from home. It still changed your life and the way things were. Like going back to March to now, we're in December of 2020. So a lot of us had a lot of consistencies in some ways, and it got thrown off track, right? So I know for me was, okay, we're home now. My husband's working from home. He's like, hey, we never had an opportunity just to chill before, relax more, because we're both such go-hards. Like, let's chill on the porch and drink some beers. And so I went from not really drinking that often to like, yeah, let's drink some beers. Or then it became like, I'm going to order some takeout. You want some? Yeah. And usually it's most times a no, but outside of 2020, for the past almost near decade, 90% of the time, no, 10% of the time, yeah, weighing those out. And I'd say for most of this year, it was just, yes, this year just kind of knocked me around in a lot of ways. And it's like food is an old go-to for comfort. You know what I mean? In a year that's been very uncomfortable, that is deeply ingrained into my DNA is food for comfort and love and all that stuff. So I feel like what was super consistent for me, which I still have done my meal prep all year. I have been very consistent with that. I became inconsistent with some other things. I have an injury, so I couldn't exercise. I got really thrown off of my patterns. And it's not that I have been less determined or don't have the willpower. I think that we hear those terms a lot when it comes to especially losing weight. But really when it comes down to is not everybody's determined every minute. Not everybody has willpower with everything. You know what I mean? It comes down to consistently what you choose to do the most often. You know what I mean? And so for me, not that I've completely gone off the rails with my healthy lifestyle at all this year, but it became way different and less consistent from where I had been in the past. And what has been successful for me and what I see success for in other people is you got to make a pattern. You know what I mean? You got to make it consistent because everybody can go on a quote unquote diet for a couple weeks and then you just feel like, oh, I'm not determined anymore. I have no more willpower. It's like, no, you make the choice to be consistent with things. And that can be at varying levels. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that can go into a longer conversation of if you're doing something like excluding a macro, like if you're not eating carbs or you're not eating fats or something like that has a different sort of time frame and discussion on what consistency is. But really it kind of boils down to that. And I've said this before too, I think it also really boils down to self-awareness, but that self-awareness also brings you the consistency of like, you want results, you're going to have to stick to something, right? Like if you go to college for a college degree, you're going to have to commit to showing up to class most of the time, right? You're going to have to commit to getting good grades most of the time to graduate. You got to stick with it. You've made the choice to stick. If you're going to learn piano, you got to make the choice to stick to practice so you can learn how to be better at it, right? So, and it's not that you have the most willpower or determination for all of those things. I mean, God, if you've ever gone to, any sort of school, just even get out of high school, like you don't have to go to college. It's like, well, I want to graduate. I want to, get out of here. At least that was my experience. I wasn't a huge fan of high school. But that's just me. So it's like, you got to stick to something because you want it. You know what I mean? And it's so easy to fall right off of that whenever you're like, oh, well, there's cookies and pies and it's Christmas time and oh, we're on vacation, or there's a lot of excuses you have. But if you're let's say that you're going to get a college degree, there's a lot of excuses not to study or to skip class or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, but if you've made the investment, you've made the choice, you're going to find a way to be consistent in what you do so you can achieve the goal, right? Now, what's harder about that of a college degree, once you get the degree, you're done. Once you live a healthier lifestyle, there is no done. There's no finish line. Like even if you hit a goal weight or a goal strength or fit in a certain size clothes, etc., the journey keeps going. You know what I mean? Of kind of like, okay, you got the college degree, now you got to get the job and you got to do the job with the degree. Life keeps going. And I think that for some reason, and I'm totally freaking guilty of this, of like putting like in these like endpoints and these finish lines. And then you're like, well, I did this, or I'm not consistent with it, so I'm just bailing on it. And it's like, you kind of have to reset your mindset on how to achieve those things. A really great book. And I tried to get this dude on this podcast, but this dude does like paid gigs and your girl ain't going to be paying money to be on my podcast. Sorry. That's not anything I ever plan on doing. But that's not a knock against him, but his book is great, which is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's a really good book about achieving habits and setting routines. And that plays into multiple things, everything in life, you know what I mean? And that fully falls into I got 20 pounds I want to lose, let's say, you know what I mean? You're going to have to find consistent patterns to get there. And sure, you might like quote unquote plateau out or whatever. You have obstacles in the way. That's just life. So it's like, okay, well, when those happen, how do I maneuver to have a consistent pattern after those are over? And it's not easy at all. If it were easy, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. You know what I mean? There wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar diet industry if this were easy to figure out and if it didn't take some brain power and some focus on what you're going to do. And we're all like, not all, but I've been there too of like, well, I want to do this as fast as possible. I want the results now. I want people to notice. I want to feel good now and soon and fast. And that's it. And that's not always the key to success. You know what I mean? Of like, sure, you can be consistent in a power, let's go hard 3 months. And then what happens after that? Right? So can you make those smaller changes, those smaller habits that become more ingrained into you and who you are, instead of putting these time frames on things? Another example I know I've used a bunch on this podcast, but there's over 600 episodes. I do not expect you to listen to all of them. And that is when I started the New Year's resolution to live a healthier life, which is what kickstarted this successful weight loss journey I've been on and stopped the big swing yo-yo train. Not only that New Year's, which was New Year's going into 2012, so January of 2012, did I say 2012? 2012 was to just make the best decision possible in every moment. And also I wanted to start flossing. There was something else too. I had 3 things. I don't remember what it was, but one was flossing, because I was totally that person that would go to the dentist and be like, yeah, I floss, with like a mouthful of blood. And they're like, okay, clearly you're a liar. And so I'm like, this is healthy for me. I don't want cavities, and I have a buttload of cavities, FYI, but I have not had a cavity since 2012. So just saying that I made it a habit to floss every night before I went to bed. That is not sexy. That is not a result the people get to see of like, oh girl, you looking so good. Or I'm like, oh yeah, fitting at this size, but one hot bitch. Like none of that. Like you don't get one hot bitch out of flossing. And so, but it's like, I know that's a good choice for me. It's healthy for me. There's good things from it, like not having cavities and spending a bunch of money at the dentist. You know what I mean? Of like just being healthy, right? It's not about the aesthetics. I mean, although I don't want my teeth to rot out, but I mean, like if I didn't floss every day, it's not like I'd be rocking some summer teeth immediately. So that really got ingrained in me, and I have flossed almost every day since 2012. God, no, damn it. 2012. Jeez. And again, isn't that fun? It's not glamorous, but it's just like, it just becomes part of my routine. I'd say there's maybe maximum 3 days out of every month that I don't floss. And that's just because I'm too tired or whatever. And I just don't feel like it. There's been times where I've been way too drunk and passed out, or I'm camping and like the camp bathroom is, and then I'm like, let's spend the least amount of time there as possible. I'll brush my teeth, but I'm not going to hang here to floss. So, you know, there's exceptions, just like there's exceptions to living a healthy lifestyle. That doesn't mean no more ice cream or donuts or drinking heavy craft beers or whatever it is. Like, yeah, you do it, and you do it sometimes, but consistently you choose the healthier choice, right? And so again, I don't feel like, you know, I'm giving you some great epiphany that hasn't been said before, but it's just a good reminder that that's what it takes. And that is up to no one else but you. You can have a dietitian in your life. You can have a health coach in your life. You can have a personal trainer in your life, anybody in your life, your best friend, your coworker, of like, we're doing this together. Keep my ass on track, right? No one can do that but you. It's you that has to make those choices. You can get all the help in the world and, you know, have a support system. And I fully say, yes, do that. But no one else is putting the food in your mouth. No one else is moving your body for you. No one else is flossing your teeth for you, minus the twice a year you go to the dentist, if you even go that often. You know what I mean? So it's like, ultimately, even with that relationship, if you are asking for help with someone, or even you're going to a Weight Watchers or whatever, it's still at the very least, 90% you. Like, you can take guidance and help, have somebody have some eyes on what you're doing, getting coaching, guidance, but it still is you that has to do the thing, and you have to want it. And if you find yourself in a place where you're super inconsistent, but it's still something that you want to have, and you feel frustrated and you've done everything and you're a failure, you absolutely are not, then first off, the win is just trying again. I mean, just I've tried so many times to lose weight successfully and keep it off. And I failed a lot. And I still kept going. I still was searching for something that would work for me. And what works for me doesn't work for everybody. Same thing goes for you. And so it's like, first off, you got to make the choice. If I'm going to keep trying, I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to give up on this. And obviously you're not, because you're listening to a health and fitness podcast. So, I mean, I don't think if you've given up, you're listening to this. So there's that. And then it's just, what can you do that you can find consistency in? What is a way that you enjoy eating, you can be consistent in, but also gives you the results you want? You know what I mean? Where's a way that you can exercise, but you can be consistent with it because you don't hate it? So it's just, I mean, it really kind of boils down to that simple concept, although it's easier said than done, because like I said, it's freaking hard. But if you keep coming back to your why of like, why do I want this? Oh yeah, okay, I remember now. Let's do this. And a thing that I did this year, oh my God, I'm sure I mentioned it on this podcast, probably recently. I don't know. Everything is kind of melting together this year, right? That I did I think I was talking to Josh, my trainer, about this on the podcast last week, that because I started going to therapy this year too. And that's because your girl got some very heavy, dark baggage that I need to dig through in order to be the best version of me. And that's how I feel about it. And it's working on me. It's to be healthy. So through one of those things, through one of my sessions with my therapist, she had these sheets that you whittle down what your top values are. And I'm sure I mentioned, I can't remember. Oh, you know what? I got them right here in my desk. Hold on. This is going to sound loud for a second. Because one was, oh, dang it. Hold on. So one was purpose. I feel like, can you hear all this rustling around? I'm sure now I won't be able to find it, right? Whenever I freaking need it. Oh, and I put them all back together. Okay, here we, oh no, where did I? Aren't you glad you're listening to me think out loud? Okay, so purpose, to have meaning and direction in my life. And then the other one I had for my top 3 was contribution, to make a lasting contribution in the world, and health, to be physically well and healthy. Those what I came down to, at least this year. I'm sure it'll change. We all change, right? Those are my top 3 values in life. And health was there because I was explaining to my therapist why I made those choices. And health is there because I know for me, I spent so much of my life just being very unhealthy. Just specifically, we're talking here diet and exercise. And a lot of that was lack of knowledge and resources and funding. Like, I grew up super poor, so whatever the church gives you is what I'm eating. I didn't have a ton of choice there. So that I learned through being an adult and going through the journey that I've been on, that first off, health is everything. Like, when you're not healthy, when you're sick, or you have a chronic disease, or you have chronic pain, you appreciate so much of like, oh my God, how good life is when you feel good, right? Like, if your health is everything, of just be so grateful for your health. Doesn't matter what your body size is, right? Just so you want to be a healthy person. But when I really started making that a real priority in my life, not this yo-yo dieting, of eating better, exercising, finding joy in that, then everything in my life got better, which is why I'm so passionate about this, why I'm still doing this podcast years later. And, just, I want to talk about this all the time because every aspect of my life got better. I was better at my job. I was better in all of my relationships. I was better with everything. Everything I became better at because I'm choosing health and to be the best version of me that I can be in that moment anyway. And I think that, you hear so many people that once they kind of have a lifestyle change, and they have a lot of people have been on this podcast, have been guests that talk about when you have that experience and you feel how much it changes your life. you just want everybody to feel it, which is why I do this podcast. That's why so many people like go into health and fitness or do a job change or become like an instructor on the weekends or something like that. It's just because you're like, oh my God, I didn't know I could feel this way. And I know what it feels like when you don't feel this way. And so many people feel that way. Like, oh my God, I just want someone else to know that you can do these healthy things. And when you're healthier, everything is so much better. And so it's just such an important marker in my life. And having a struggle bus year like 2020 just highlights a lot of those things where you can get pushed around, kicked down in the dirt, face first in the dirt. A lot happened to a lot of us this year that you're like, what's going to make me get back up and stand back up, wipe the blood off my face, wipe the dirt off my clothes, and like, this is important to me. I'm going to keep moving. I might have to change the ways I'm consistent. I might have to change the way I'm doing things, but the end goal is still the same. I just have to be consistent in the way that I get there. And again, that consistency could change. You could be really into meal prepping for a year and then you're not. You could be really into keto for a year and you're not. And then you just find something else to be consistent in that you enjoy. And that's where you get the results. And it's just never giving up on that. And, you and myself included, whenever you feel like you're firing on all cylinders, it feels so freaking good. You're like, why would I ever not do this? Like, why would I just like eat fast food every day when I can feel this freaking good, when I'm hydrated and I'm moving, I'm proud of myself. And sometimes you just find yourself off of that path, but the thing is, catch yourself. Let's get back on there and let's find a way to consistently try to stay on the path. You know what I mean? One step at a time, one day at a time. That's why I'm such a meal prepper and I just love it. It keeps me consistent. And even though I had a difficult year personally, it's still just been the core that has kept me so grounded. And I know I mentioned this on an earlier podcast this year too. I feel like, if I didn't have this healthy lifestyle that I live now, I think this year would have just ruined me. Like, I feel like I had so much of a good foundation built that even though there is a storm coming through, the foundation will hold you, right? And I feel like if I would have lived through 2020 10 years ago, or you know what I mean, however that best said that, if like I had to deal with this before I changed my lifestyle choices and stuff like that, I think it just, oh my God, dude, I would have gained like 100 pounds this year. I would have been a complete mess. Let's not even talk about like mental health, just complete trash, right? So it's important, and you're not going to have this sturdy foundation if you're not consistent in your choices to build it. And so, just live a life that you want to live, especially I think is so important this year as we're faced with a lot of really ugly things I think it is, like I just mentioned, one of my values of purpose. It is a just hard relook at like, what do I want to do? Like, what is my purpose? Things are bad, so what's something that I can look to pull myself back up so I don't give up? You know what I mean? And it's a hard conversation, but it's 100% worth it. And the fact that you have control to change the things that you want to control is huge. I was just having a conversation this week with one of the trainers at Cincy 360 Fitness, and we were talking about, I forgot how it came up, basically how I was a band dork. Like I never did any athletics. I was in volleyball for like a couple months in 6th grade because my mom made me do it because my cousin did it and lost weight. So my mom thought that me doing that would help me lose weight, which again, at the time, like was not a great motivator. Like mom says you're fat, go play volleyball to be less fat. Like I didn't want to do it for me. I was doing it for my mom, and I did not enjoy it. And so I quit. Plus, I sucked at it, but I also didn't try because it's nothing I wanted to do. So anyway, I was in band like forever, alto sax for life. And so, but I was like, I took so many band classes in high school to purposely avoid gym. I spent my entire high school career avoiding gym. I mean, except for assemblies, but other than that, I never exercised. I took music theory classes, jazz band, concert band, all this crap, band stuff, so I would not have to exercise. That was, I mean, I know I was a teenager, but it's still me, you know what I mean? And I was living that life for a long time. I mean, when I met my husband years later, I wouldn't even like go on a walk to see like a beautiful lake, and you know, the Finger Lakes in New York when we were in Ithaca. Like, I'm just like, I'm not walking up those stairs. I'm crazy, walking nowhere. And so to think that that's the person, you know, that I used to be, and for a very long time, and to now I'm working on my 4th certification, being a nutrition coach, a personal trainer, a health coach, all of these things. And it's insane, right? Like, God, who would have thought, right? It's bonkers. But it's like, looking forward, you write the story. You know what I mean? Like, I wrote this story for myself. It's something that I wanted for myself. So you make it happen in whatever ways that you need to make it happen, right? It's not easy. Definitely doesn't go on the timeline you want. For sure not. I was looking into getting certified in personal training in, 2013, 2014. And it didn't take me till this year to actually get certified. So it's like, it doesn't always go in your timeline, but if it's something that you want, again, those consistent choices to make it. I could have totally trashed that idea. I mean, that was over 5 years ago. I'm like, yeah, that's a pipe dream. Nah. No, but I stayed consistent in meal prepping, eating healthy, moving my body, trying different things, moving around, and here we are. But it's staying most consistent most of the time to get there. And also, too, I was just having this conversation yesterday with a physical therapist that's helping me with some of my damage. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I feel like I have thrown everything at this damn thing. I've seen so many physical therapists, massage therapists, chiropractors, going to different trainers, trying Pilates. Shout out to Pilates. Super incredibly helpful. So again, if you're looking for whether you have injuries or not, Pilates is awesome. Talk about working your core. It's the bomb. Pilates.com. I'll do a link in the thingy, but Shelly does virtual classes too. So if you're listening to this, not in Cincinnati, but anywho. So I was like, I'm doing all these things to get out of this chronic pain. And I'm like, but I'm not giving up. I'm like, I know there's a solution. Like, I know I'm not the youngest thing, but I'm also not the oldest where I'm like, I can't put my own damn socks on in the morning. Like every single morning, it is a struggle for me to put my own socks on because my back hurts so bad. My lower back and this stupid freaking sciatic nerve. And so I'm like, I know there's something I can do. I know there's a way. And I'm not giving up until it's there for something. And it sucks and it's painful and it's so freaking frustrating and it is mentally exhausting and draining and it feels like it just punches you in the ground to make you like, no, nuh-uh. You're never going to be able to work out that way again. Oh, you want to do a deadlift? Should have done that 10 years ago, dummy. You know, like all this stuff that you tell yourself. I'm like, no, I'll find something. Like knock me down 9 times, I'll get up 10, right? So I'm consistent with that too. I want to keep trying and I'll find something eventually. Again, not on my timeline. Wish that was fixed ASAP. Not in the books. Learning lots of lessons while I'm going through this though, right? So I'm just learning about so much about my own body. I'm learning about dedication all over again in a different way. And all the lessons that I'm learning in this, I can share with other people and help them, and maybe they have a shorter timeline through this. There's all sorts of wins in it. So you can choose to be the victim. You can choose to be down and bummed out about it, which, yeah, there's times for that too. But you also get to choose the path moving forward. Do you quit? Oh, I'm not losing weight. Done? Or do you find a way? Do you keep trying until you find a way? You find something that works, something that you like, and then you stick with it. That's the key. Plain and simple, even though it took me a half hour to say it. That's the key. And on that note, I'm going to shut up because I thought this was going to be like 10 minutes, dudes. And I'm like, oh, God, I just like diarrhea of the mouth. I just like can't stop talking. I think it's just because I'm at home so much. Like, oh my God. Oh, but as always, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you more than you could ever know for listening and sharing this podcast. If you could share it to anybody that could find this, useful, be amazing. Write a review on iTunes is incredibly helpful. I mean, I would prefer it be positive. But I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. So yeah, thank you again, and I'll talk to you later.
For info on health coaching and more, go to AmandaValentineBites.com.